It's a good day, class. Thank you so much for having each other again today. And I welcome you back to Term 3 Work Geography Grade 11. With that, I wish to make sure to you that we are pushing and emphasizing on development studies. So today's segment, we want to understand social and economic sustainable development and how sustainable development is achieved or fulfilled. I want us to look at social sustainable development. What are the key factors involved in social sustainable development? Also examples into that, as well as the interconnectedness of social and economic development. How do they correlate to each other? In this, we also wish to explain and give practical examples that affect and relate to our daily lives. So in that sense, you are going to also look at the economic, social, and special aspects of development. That is in terms of the Brandt line. I am sure you understand, and it's quite relevant in our syllabus that we need to understand the North-South divide. How does it come? Its relevancy, the application of it. How does it? What are the criticisms of that? Though it might have criticisms as well, but anyway, we need to understand how useful is that. This is also explained through our world map that is also attached on on this board for notes and clarity. You shall see that we have got the developed countries, which are explained through the pyramids. We also have this spectrum that identifies the economic sectors of developed countries, as in terms of the contribution of the primary, secondary, and tertiary sector, and also in terms of the population distribution with regards to population distribution, as in ratios of rural to urban population. We would look into economic indicators that are affecting developed countries also and developing countries. These factors are the same, but they are just differently applying. So you shall see this is the branch line which I talked about, but we are going to explain more into that. So the north is the developed and the south is the developing. You see how is our developing countries having high birth rates, falling death rates, low levels of literacy, limited access to water and sanitation, as well as population pyramids that are there. Obviously, the population pyramids will explain the economic indicators, how are these affecting people in different parts of the world, that is in the north and in the south. You shall see the broader wide base pyramids in developing countries, which are also uh, having a very small and tiny aging population, explaining the life expectancy, the population distribution in southern Africa or in the north, in the south. We have got in the south divide, we have got most of the people residing in rural areas versus the ratio of people in urban areas, which I am also going to explain to you in this presentation. The economic sector's contribution. You see here we have got our primary sector, our primary sector, which is shown here. We are saying its economic sector's contribution, primary, secondary, and tertiary, which are we are saying they are for developing countries, which are in the south. So we want us to understand and uh, greatly appreciate how is this the north-south divide uh, making sense to us. So we would look at key features there. Like I said, the population pyramid, settlement, rural and urban settlements, people living in rural versus urban areas, and obviously in that case we'll come to the economic indicators, of development. These I'm going to explain them also in greater detail. What is gross domestic product? How does it relate and affect or show as an economic indicator? The human development index, uh, gross national product, the gene coefficient, infant mortality rate, life expectancy. These are key economic indicators that we are going to talk about in this presentation of today. So please just be patient and follow. If ever you don't have time, you can watch it continuously, time piece by piece, until you finish the whole presentation or the whole lecture that is going to be given on these notes that I'm showing you. I'm sure this is quite important for you, and you must understand that we are preparing for uh, term three as well as end of year exams. So I'm going to be showing all this to you now. So without wasting time, we are just going to go to the first. We are just going to go to the first piece of our presentation. We are just going to start from the first piece of our presentation, which is actually uh, social and economic sustainable development. That is an approach that balances economic growth with social progress. So, in terms of development, we are saying it is quite important that economists or government and every other policymakers, they do attach economic development and economic and social sustainable development in a way that it balances both economic growth as well as social progress, in not forgetting protection. Environmental protection remains also a key concept into that. So when we are looking at it, we need to understand the strike of balance between economic growth versus social progress, and also environmental protection, ensuring that the future generation can also meet their needs. So, in terms of development, the the whole idea and emphasis is not only resting upon meeting the needs of the current population, but it also stretches and ensures that there are quite varied needs and expectations of the current population, which are also being fulfilled, but not forgetting the sustainable development part of it, which has to do with environmental protection and also ensuring that the needs of the future generations are met. In that regard, we are saying sparing use of resources. So, resources, it involves using resources wisely. Resources must be used wisely, improving living standards. The living standards of people cannot be static. They can't be static. The standards of living must be uh, in a trend or a wave that shows a positive growth, and also promoting social well-being without compromising the planet's ability to sustain life. So the planet, obviously, we are looking on Earth, which is our planet, where we are surviving or where life is taking place. So the planet Earth, it must be, we are saying we are supposed to understand that we must not compromise its ability to sustain life. So economic sustainable development, it actually focuses on improving material well-being. When we talk about material well-being, this also explains the material well-being also explains the standards of living of people. It explains of living, standards of living of the people, which we are saying if the standards of living of people is good, it means there is access to material well-being. We are talking about everything that we can talk about which people needs to survive, but their access to them, their ability to obtain them. We are saying that explains economic growth. We are able to meet those by creating jobs, increasing wealth. I'm sure as people, as students, as everybody who is a normal human being, there is always a need for creation of wealth. So creation of wealth improves the standards of living. When wealth is created, we are talking about development. If development is there, there is creation of jobs. If creation of jobs is met or is readily available, we talk about economic growth. So that is achieved through key aspects such as what? Development of infrastructure. Infrastructure must be developed, improving industries, improvement in industrialization or industries improvement, and services. Obviously, services, we are talking about all of them: education, health, insurance, banking, warehousing, retail, supply chain. All these we can mention just but a few. These are all services that we need to look at, which we are saying if we talk about economic development, all those are resting upon infrastructure development. If you talk about that, we cannot ignore industrial growth, which is improving industrial capacity, and also maybe talking about industrialization, how much industries are growing. We talk about mechanization, the investment in modern technologies, the investment in uh, environmentally friendly production systems and processes. So that also we are saying it involves services, as I've mentioned, and ensuring a stable economy. A stable economy is therefore achieved. So how is sustainable aspect fulfilled? How is sustainable aspect fulfilled? How is sustainable aspect fulfilled? This is a question which I'm saying it is achieved or fulfilled by using resources responsibly, responsible use of resources, using resources responsibly to ensure long-term economic viability and avoid depletion. So this depletion, we are talking about finishing, which has to do with finishing. We can talk about either extinction, depletion, which is one and the same thing. So when we achieve that, we are consciously focusing on sustainable development, responsible use of resources to ensure long-term economic viability. So the long-term concept, family and class, the long-term idea here, we are talking about current and future what? Future generations. That is long-term. Long-term, current needs, current population requirements and expectations are met, and then we also worry about the future. So that is long-term. In that regard, we are saying sparingly use of resources avoids depletion. It avoids extinction. It avoids uh, running out of our essential, very important resources. They cannot be finished. So social sustainable development, it focuses on enhancing the quality of life for all citizens. Social, when it is social, it has to do with quality of life. We are working and focusing on quality of life of all citizens, ensuring access to basic needs. I talked about services such as these needs are services such as education, health care, shelter. People cannot live without shelter. We can not have people or the livelihoods of people compromised because of absence of health care. Health is quite an important aspect of development. People need to be taken care of. People need to be educated. Education is very important. Development is as a result of civilization. Civilization brings a better understanding in terms of how resources must be managed, in terms of personal individual development. I'm saying key aspects include promoting social justice. Social justice, it comes to these aspects such as the proper management of our ecosystems. Our natural environment must be well managed. People's living standards in terms of sanitation and health and hygiene must be well managed. Reducing inequality. We are saying the gap between the rich and the poor must be well managed in terms of sustainable development. So we are talking about reducing the gap, reducing inequality by ensuring inclusivity. Inclusivity, it covers and explains that every person, because he's a human being, is involved and has got a share of the economic resources of a nation. And then this also comes by empowering individuals. We are talking about development plans that are there to for the people. We can talk about public works programs. We can talk about many other developmental projects that government puts in place in order to ensure that the services of the individuals and people within a country are well developed in order for them to acquire wealth, in order for them to be employable, in order for them to be responsible citizens, in order for them to remain productive and having to contribute towards the national development or a gross domestic product of the country. So sustainable aspect ensuring that the social progress is inclusive. The social progress to mean to say that development of all people. It talks about of all development of all people. That is mean say it's in progress. Is social progress is inclusive and does not negatively impact on the environment and future generations. This I've already mentioned and explained that the environment is a key aspect, it's a key requirement which we cannot depilate and damage. I'm sure you know some of the consequences that are involved in terms of detrimental aspects of environmental management. We talk about ozone depletion, we talk about global warming, we talk about climate change, we talk about many other related climatic problems that arises because of improper management of the environment, desertifications. Desertification, it is also an imminent challenge which all countries are facing and trying to work to avoid. And then we talk about the accumulation of greenhouse gases, which also endangers our environment and also affecting our natural ecosystems. So, classy environment is one of the key requirements or is one of the key aspects that is to be well managed in terms of development. So, an example in this case I've mentioned or I indicated is investing in renewable energy sources to reduce reliance on fossils and infinite resources. So, this we talk about reduction of pollution, reduction in pollution, reduction in pollution. It comes with all forms of pollution. It can be water, it can be air, it can be it can be water, air, land, and everything. I'm sure in more we have got animals, both domesticated and also wild. If you talk about land pollution, their lives are put on danger in by having individuals or by having uh, policies not in place which causes massive littering and massive pollution where those animals can die because of pollution. They can die by eating some unnecessary and some unnecessary and indigestible substances and products. So we also look at also we are saying fossils reducing reliance on fossils, they cause a lot of pollution. We talk about coal, we talk about whatsoever, wood and so forth. So we are saying greener, environmentally friendly sources of energy are used in order to ensure that the environment becomes a safe place, and also infinite resources to say avoiding depending on resources that can be finished. So still in the introduction of socio-economic development, I want us to understand the interconnectedness. We are talking about the relationship. This is the relationship between social and economic development. So economic development is necessary for social progress. Economic development, it actually facilitates, it actually ensures social progress. For people's standards of living to be improved, it means they must have wealth, they must have money. If money is there, in other ways, we can talk about all forms of social development. And then, but it must be balanced with environmental protection to be sustainable. We are saying we cannot ignore, it must be balanced with environmental protection. So that is the interconnectedness and the relationship between social and economic development, which we are saying we cannot bypass and forget environmental protection. So social development can be negatively impacted by unsustainable economic practices. Unsustainable economic practices such as resource depletion and pollution, these can also negatively affect social development. So our environment and our social life fabrics is achieved because of people being responsible, because of government being available in policy planning and also implementation, which also caters towards sparing management of resources and also practices that avoid all various forms of pollution and forms. So environmental sustainability is crucial for long-term economic and social well-being. I'm sure we can agree as a class that if there is no environmental sustainability, we cannot be able to have social and economic well-being. Our economic development, it comes from various ways. It comes from various industries. It comes from various practices. We cannot have economic development if the environment is not taken care of. Let's talk about mining. Let's talk about agriculture. Let's talk about other secondary industries and so forth. Their availability and their existence is centered and promoted because of environmental sustainability. If there is no minerals, if there is no agri agro product, we cannot be able to have every other secondary and tertiary sectors because they are centered on the environment, which is the primary sector. So environmental sustainability affects the primary sector. It affects our extraction industry. It affects our resources industry. It affects our raw material supply. Hence, we cannot ignore it. And that is the reason why we are saying it affects the long-term economic and social well-being. So in its sensible in conclusion to this, I'm saying sustainable development requires holistic approach that considers the relationship, which is the interconnectedness of economic, social, and environmental factors to ensure better future for all. So that is sustainable development. I'm sure grade 11 students, please take this right. And it actually forms the foundation and the basis towards every other discussion that might follow. We are to understand that the premises from where every other senses and factors of production, development, and in economic development and social development are based under environmental sustainability. They are based under sustainable development. Uh, Thank you very much. Let's go. I want us to look at the Brandt line. Uh, we have to come to understand that the world is divided into north and south. So a bright line was proposed by a former West German chancellor, who is Willy Brandt. This is uh is this chancellor who came up with this north-south divide, which is a visual representation of a socio-economic divide between the rich north and the poor south. So this is quite important concept in our geography grade 11. The Brandt line, it actually understand, and I mean it actually proposes that there is a visual representation which actually shows the rich north and south divide based on the socio-economic factors. So it roughly follows the north degrees north latitude. Where is it found? It roughly follows the north south, the north degrees, uh the north degrees latitude that deep south of south include Australia and New Zealand within the rich north. So on the rich north, we also have countries such as Australia and also New Zealand. So when we look into that again, it was a useful tool for visualizing global inequality. It actually identifies global differences. That is what we're saying, the divide between the North and the South in the 1980s. And its relevance has been questioned due to economic development and globalization. I'm sure you can see and agree with me that we are looking, we are living in a one world, one one web, one web, one market. Our economy is actually running as a single thing, as a single cell because of globalization, the economic development, the relationship and trade relationship and development practices that are happening and going around, irrespective of the location of countries, irrespective of the geographical boundaries. So it was created to illustrate the stark contrast, the north-south divide or the bright line. It was actually created to illustrate the stark contrast in wealth and development between the northern and the southern hemisphere. The northern and southern hemisphere. So the northern, we talk about the developed. This is the developed, the northern, and then the southern, we are saying it is the developing countries. So the line generally runs, it generally runs east, west, but it deviates to include that, which we also talked about, that it is also including the Mexico, it is also including, I mean, and to exclude some northern regions such as Mexico. So the significance of it highlighted the disparity in economic and human development, the significance of we are still talking about the significance of the Brandt line. So it actually shows the gap in economic, this disparity. We are talking about the gap class, the gap, the difference, the gap in economic and human development between the wealthier, more powerful nations in the north and the less developed nations in the south. So, what is the criticism of this? The criticism or the limitations of the Brandt line? It actually, the line rigid geographical basis is actually the basis of criticism as being oversimplistic. It is just very simplified because many countries have experienced significant economic growth and shift in development, making the line's division less clear. So if we are to consider the line that I'm going to be showing in the next presentation there, we are saying it is very rigid in terms of in terms of its position, which we talked that it runs on 30 degrees what north. So what we are saying is latitude. So what you need to understand is that it is actually oversimplistic because of its geographical rigidity that we are talking about. Uh, Many countries have already experienced significant economic growth which is resulting or which has resulted in the shift of development, and therefore the line cannot be quite relevant. So some countries in the global south has achieved considerable economic progress, while others in the north have faced economic challenges. We have gotten various uh, economic challenges that have impacted on the world as a whole, which actually caused changes and changes both negatively and positively in terms of economic progress. So that line cannot be equally applied right now. So irrespective of that, the modern use of the line is that despite being outdated, despite that it is outdated, the Brandt line is still used as a visual aid to discuss global inequality. It is actually still used as a visual aid, as a visual illustration. It is still used as a visual illustration to explain, as a visual illustration in order to discuss global inequality. We are talking about world. We are saying to discuss uh, world inequality, world variation, uh, and the north-south divide, which actually serves as a reminder of past disparities and ongoing challenges of development in some regions. So development is not static. Development, we are saying challenges are still there, which are still also still ongoing. I'm sure for those some of you who are following and understanding current affairs and so forth, we have got quite interesting points to discuss with regards to global economic performances and standards, which are affected by various factors that we might also want to explore in the near future for interest sake. But for geography reasons, I guess this is enough. So this is it. We are saying the bright line, as you can see there, what is happening there is that we have got the developed countries. We have got the developed countries, which I'm saying we want to look at developed countries have got a high gross national product. They've got low birth rate and low death rate. These are due to sophisticated and improved healthcare services, high levels of literacy, which we are talking about access to education as an economic indicator, export of manufactured goods. Developed countries have good industrial capacity. They are very mechanized. They are so mechanized, developed countries. So that reason, results in massive production or mass production of goods, which can also be sold to developing countries and the world as a whole. We can talk about most people have access to water and sanitation. We are talking about clean water, not just water. They've got access to clean water. They have access to clean water and sanitation. So sanitation in terms of hygiene and social development is quite an important factor to consider, and we cannot overwrite it. So look here now, I'm saying population proportion, larger population developed countries, they're not divided. We have got their pyramids are depicted by this is a population pyramid class. This is a population pyramid that is illustrating a developed country. It is illustrating a developed country. What do you say? We have got uh, low birth rate. We have got low birth rate as indicated by a narrow. We are saying the birth rate, the young population, young children, they are very low. We are having very few. We have got low birth rate there. As indicated there, we say low birth rate and death rate. So the death rate is the one that is accounting to have an active population that is a little bit bigger there because we don't have infant mortality rate. Children are not dying. So many people are growing into to adults. So life expectancy here is also high. We have got high life expectancy, which is shown by a larger proportion of people, a larger proportion of elderly people, people who are old. We have got a large population of old people who are living up to those years. What is indicating or what is illustrated there is that people are not dying young. They are living up to their full uh, up to an age when they are no longer much productive in terms of contribution to economic progress and economic development of the country. So this we are talking about sectorial development, economic sectors. We are saying it is the primary sector, which is one. We have got the secondary sector, which is two. And then we have got the tertiary sector, which is three. So if you can see, there is massive or high production and contribution from the tertiary sector. Tertiary sector contributes a lot, followed by secondary, and then minimum or less is coming from the primary sector. What is happening here is that the countries in the north are very developed. So they've got capacity to create jobs. People are working clean, smart jobs, and that actually explains why we have got also more of secondary sector because there's massive production. We talked about manufacturing goods for export, and then industrialization and mechanization that is happening there provides a bigger proportionate contribution from what from the secondary sector. So the population distribution, you can see most people living in what in urban areas, and then less in what we have got less in rural areas. Rural areas, rural areas have got less population. We have got less people, less population there. We have less, and we have got high population in what? In urban areas. That is one thing that you can see. It is because of urbanization, the ability of developed countries to provide housing and also to meet the social needs of the population is quite high. People are able to have schools, people are able to have uh, health facilities, people are able to have everything, infrastructure development. It's so high there in the north. So that is why we have got such an illustration. So the south, so obviously we are talking about the southern hemisphere here. We are talking about the south, which is we are saying the south, we are saying south, it is explaining what? It is explaining the developing countries. So as you can see, the bracket line, it identifies this. In developing countries, we have got low gross national product, we have got high birth rates, we have got falling death rate also, of course, because of some scientific improvement in health services and research, low literacy rate. We still have our people not managing or not able to get well educated. And then we also talk about access to water and sanitation is so limited. We have got our urban areas too having problems of waste management. Yeah, that also explains clean water as well as sanitation. So less population or less people, less population, less people, less number of people are found in what? In urban areas, and then we have got high population in what? In rural areas. These rural areas are caused because of very low development that is taking place. The industrialization, the uh, urbanization processes in in developing countries is quite low. That explains all these factors that we are referring to. And then looking into that, the population pyramid of a developing country, population distribution or population demographics. The population demographics here, it explains that we have got larger proportion of what? Of children. Children are so many of them. We have got high birth rate that has been identified there. High birth rate, high birth rate caused by many other factors that are related to that. It can be because of inadequate access to health facilities in regard to family planning measures. It can be due to less literacy rates. It can be due to uh, the low levels of development in various sectors and so forth. People are still depending on primary sector. As you can see, our primary sector has got the highest, we have got highest production and contribution from the primary sector. Secondary sector, we are saying is the least. We have got low from the secondary sector, and then we have got averagely high production or high contribution to development from the tertiary sector. So tertiary has got tertiary sector. It is better developed than the secondary sector because we said wealth factors are affecting the secondary sector. The factors are affecting this. Uh, Many factors such as uh, low population, I mean low less access to to financing, uh, low industrialization and mechanization, all those factors that are to do with even international standards in terms of production processes are therefore some of the challenges that can affect this. So, as we are looking at this, don't forget to understand that there are key features to consider here. Which countries are part of the North and the South? So, developed countries, we are saying most of the developed countries are the Northern Hemisphere. We talk about United States of America, Spain, China, Germany, and all those are good examples. So the differences in population pyramids, as I've already mentioned there, the population pyramids, I already gave you an explanation that more elderly people in developed countries, more children in developing countries. So there is a vice versa, or there is a different population segment representation in the two. This I already explained it to you. Larger number of people living in urban areas in developed countries. That is quite true in comparison with larger number of people living in rural areas in developing countries, which are caused because of various limiting factors such as infrastructural development and the dependence on primary sector that has been illustrated here is also contributing to such population variation. The differences in contribution of the primary, secondary, or our economic sectors, which I already indicated again. There is such a disparity variation that I've showed here. The contributions are just quite significant and are significantly noticeable. And then literacy rates, schools and education in developing countries still remains a challenge because of poverty, because of less access uh, to schools. Otherwise, the schools are not readily available. We talk about either even the levels of development in terms of understanding of the economic importance of education still needs to have some campaigns and so forth, which is not necessarily to say that it is totally an overall challenge, but we are saying it's relatively low as compared to developed countries. So I want us to look at this as the last part of it. Uh, the indicators for development. The indicators for development. I want you to understand that what is gross domestic product? Gross domestic product, the total value of goods and services produced in a country in a year. So if we look at that gross domestic product, you need to understand that the total production that have taken place within a country in terms of the total goods and the total goods that has been produced, we are saying that is used to measure what? To measure production. So we say that is gross domestic product. That is gross domestic product. So it is also an economic indicator. It is also an economic indicator that our country, I mean our people must understand. So it is a key indicator of a nation's economic development, which also represent the total value of all goods and services within a country's borders during a specific period, usually a year. So we measure total economic output. We can also measure economic health. We also measure the size of the economy, which we are saying it provides a measure of the overall size of the country's economy, allowing the comparison between the nations. So nations rating is based on GDP, which I'm talking about or which we are referring to in this regard. So you need to understand that it is actually an indicator for economic development and showing the basic standards of living of people used to gauge the average standards of living within a country. In that regard, a high GDP per capita generally suggests a high average income and access to goods and services, which you need to understand in that respect. So, as factor number one, we want to look at gross national product, which includes all income, including from foreign countries in 1 year. Gross national product. This is also an economic indicator. I'm saying that it measures the total value of goods and services produced by a country's residents, regardless of their location. So, uh, total value of goods and services produced by a country's residents, irrespective of where they are located. So, therefore, this reflects a nation's overall economic what output and productivity. In that regard, what you need to understand is that it provides insights into financial health and potential for growth. So, we need to take note of that in that regard. So this also it also includes some aspects such as consumer spending, government spending, investment, net exports, as well as the value of imports there. So we are saying in that case, it actually indicates economic development, which uh, uh, actually identifies level of production and resources utilization within a country, and also international interrelationship there, which we need to understand to say it can highlight a country's reliance on international trade, investment, and it includes also income earned from abroad by its citizens or residents. Sorry. So therefore, that is quite important as a measure of economic development. Uh, Going on again, let me just quickly run this. Uh, Let me quickly talk about these factors and just quickly finish on them so that we can just conclude on it. I want us to look at we want to look at the Human Development Index. That's the Human Development Index actually focuses on the quality of life, the standards of living, life expectancy, and education. I'm sure this is also shown through the population pyramid that we've been talking about. The population pyramid, it also identifies this. So the Human Development Index actually is a composite of statistics used to rank countries by levels of social and economic development. In that case, what you need to understand is that it goes beyond just economic growth. It also incorporates health, education indicators, such that a broader measure of human well-being is achieved. So then, in other words, what we are saying is that Human Development Index assesses how well a country is performing in terms of its citizens' health, knowledge, and standards of living. I'm sure this can also, you can actually understand that to say that in terms of that, a long and healthy life, which we are measuring by life expectancy at birth. We also look at access to knowledge measured by schooling as expected in terms of years that a person can take in school. This is also identifying a human development index. And then lastly, we can talk about how decent the standards of living of people is, which can also be measured by gross national income. That can also be one other thing point to look at. So We can talk about infant mortality rate, the number of infants under the age of 12 months that dies per thousand children per thousand birth. So the higher the infant rate, the higher the infant mortality rate, the uh, the law a country is developed. I mean, the law a country is developed. So a country that has got a high infant mortality rate, it identifies that there is a greater number of children who are failing to reach their adulthood, which is actually uh, serving as a crucial indicator of a nation's economic development. In other words, the infant mortality rate class, it actually reflects the broader societal well-being and living conditions. So a lower infant mortality rate generally signifies a better, I mean, it signifies better health. It also shows economic conditions. It also shows social and economic conditions that are better. Well, a high infant mortality rate indicates a lower level of development, which we are saying these are reflected on matters such as the standards of living, also the people are going through, as well as their health status. The Gini coefficient, which is another point number 4, it's a measure that plots the level of inequality, usually income in a country. So in a well-developed country, we're saying the inequality existence or the existence of inequality is quite low. It's quite low. When a country is well-developed, we are saying there is less inequalities or inequalities do not randomly exist. So what you need to understand is that this is quite important that it provides a statistical measure of income or wealth that I'm saying is within a population. Uh, what you need to understand is that it is actually a tool for monitoring inequality. This one, it is used to measure. It's a monitoring tool. It's a monitoring. It's a monitoring tool for inequality. This Gini coefficient. So what you need to understand is that actually it quantifies ways to track changes in income and wealth distribution over time and also across different countries. So this relates also to policy evaluation. It relates to policy evaluation. How does the government and the policymakers use the Gini coefficient to assess the impact of various policies, such as taxation? We talk about welfare, we talk about social welfare programs, we talk about income inequality, and also the government response in terms of how are they responsibly adjusting those. So it's actually it is actually helping to identify areas of intervention that the government need to promote and also close gaps that are existing around in terms around development in terms of inequalities. And then lastly, we can talk about life expectancy, the average number of years a person can expect to live. We are saying a better developed country has got developed countries, developed developed has got high life expectancy. It has got high life expectancy. High life expectancy is caused because of access to health facilities, access to understanding of individual social well-being as a person, understanding and access to proper health services. All these can also, even the types of work people are doing, those can as well explain that a country can have people who are living up to their fullest. So life expectancy, it remains a very important point that we need also to explain with regards to what, with regards to uh, with regard to economic development or in regard to economic indicators. So in developing countries, The majority of our people are living in rural areas. They are depending on primary sector as a means of survival. So all those are also negatively impacting on the average years a person can survive. So what we need to understand is that this actually reflects the overall well-being, the health and living standards of a country's population, which I am saying generally high life expectancy correlates to more developed countries or a more developed economy due to factors such as improved healthcare, good nutrition, good sanitation, and as well as the basic access to resources affecting all those. So what I want us to understand is that this is term three work, and I wish you all the best in your studies, that you are going to do the best, you are going to pass it. And when it comes to this topic, I guess that none of you is gonna miss it. This is quite important concept, and I hope that you have understood it good and well. All the best in your upcoming exams, and also please just keep on revising and connecting. Please don't forget to turn on your notification button, share the video, like, comment, and let's interact for the development of our educational hub. Metric Hub can take us far. One stop shop for our academic progress. Thank you very much, and all the best once again. Let's meet in the next presentations. Don't forget life science is there, geography is there, and also other lower grades. Share to brothers and sisters so that together we can go. Good day.